Book 12 of 2020 was Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. I have no idea if that's how you're supposed to say it or not. I had heard of this book a lot actually, and I kind of thought that because it was called Slaughterhouse 5, I was imagining it was kind of like some kind of horror or something, and so I was like, I don't particularly want to read something like that. I was thinking of like maybe a Clockwork Orange kind of feel to it, and I was like, not that I've read that, but I've heard of kind of what that's about, and it's on my to read list, but I haven't read it yet. And it's funny actually because as I started reading it, I felt like the time that I read Catcher in the Rye, because I'd always imagined Catcher in the Rye was kind of like a Chaucer medieval kind of book, and it's actually a postmodern kind of way of writing. And so when I read this Slaughterhouse 5, it kind of feels the same as Catcher in the Rye. It's like a conversational narrative, and it's about Billy Pilgrim, who's basically lost in time, and that's what attracted me to the book in the first place, because I love books about time and time travel and parallel time and kind of being in different times, and anything to do with time I love. Books, films, everything, TV shows, everything, love it. Because it's all like connected, and yeah, I just love it. It's like my favourite. As well as like dystopia, like I probably like time more actually. All like my favourite books have got like some kind of time element in them. Although that's a complete lie, but because I actually like books that don't have the time element in it, but a lot of the books that I like have time elements in it. So essentially, Billy Pilgrim is kind of like jumping from time point to time point throughout the book, and it's really kind of confusing and disorientating because you can't figure out like whereabouts in his life that you are, and like what life it is, and that's kind of good because it's almost like an adulus to what Billy is feeling. Like you feel like he feels, because he kind of just wakes up and he doesn't know like which life he's in or what's happening or what he's got to do next. So it's really kind of interesting for that reason, because it's not like in other books with time, it's kind of like, so for example, I read the first 15 lives of Harry August, and he kind of lives his life and then goes back and lives it again and goes back and lives it again. But with Billy Pilgrim, what he's doing is he's jumping from life to life, but he's not lived those lives yet. So he's kind of like, they're all happening sequentially, and he's jumping like to them but at different time points, and it's all really confusing, but it's good because it's confusing. I think if you don't like confusing books like that, it won't be for you, but I love to be confused and to try and work it out. And I was actually thinking like, oh no, that was a different book than I thought. That I'm jumping ahead of myself. This one's really good because it incorporates like theories of time. So there's a theory, I did Google it to kind of see which theory it was when I was writing my review, called the Bootstrap Paradox. And this is where the timeline has always been like that. So, there's some theories which suggest that if you go to a different timeline, you can make a change and then it affects the whole timeline. But with this theory, it's suggesting that it's always been like that. So if you kind of can remember, if you've watched Harry Potter, when Harry Potter is like getting attacked by a dementor by the lake, and he sees somebody cast a Patronus, and it's a stag, and he thinks it's his dad. Sorry if this is a spoiler, but I should imagine that you've watched it by now. But it turns out that it was him, and he realises when they've switched the time and stuff that the whole time it was always him that was going to do it. And so that theory is shown in Harry Potter. I think, is it The Prisoner of Azkaban? When Hermione's got that time switcher or whatever it's called. So that's kind of like what's used in this book. It's probably where J.K. Rowling stole the idea from, to be honest with you, because she steals all her ideas from everywhere. So that was kind of good actually that it did that, because it was like no matter what Billy did, he was always going to do that, because that was how it was always. It's kind of hard to explain, but I mean, when you read it, you'll understand. Or you could, Google Bootstrap Paradox, time travel theory. Not time travel theory. It's not time traveling, but time theory. Billy is also quite lethargic throughout the book. So he's in the war through some of it, And because he's quite lethargic and he doesn't want to do it and he doesn't want to be there and he doesn't want to get involved, it's kind of like showing that kind of motif of like anti-war, which the book is kind of deemed to be. So that was quite successful within the characterisation. There's quite a lot of farcical elements of it though, that, you know, at one point there's kind of like aliens involved in it, and it kind of lost my interest at that point and reduced my enjoyment. Obviously it was flipping back and forth between different time points and lives. I think it is the lives in this one, or is it just time points? Can't remember. I should have double checked that before I started reading it. I think it might be time points, right? It might be just one life that is across time, but then and he keeps flipping back and forth between them. I can't quite remember. But yeah, these farcical elements were just, I mean, I can understand why they were used, because I think it's to imply some kind of cognitive dissonance, because you're not really quite sure whether or not Billy is kind of almost like affected by the trauma of the war, and he's not actually a reliable narrator. So he's kind of narrating these things that are not actually true and haven't actually happened, but he's just a bit mad because that's another like thread in the story. But it could be real, so it's kind of like, you know, are the farcical things real or are they not? It was kind of not, I didn't really like it. It kind of, you know, it was dislocated from reality a little bit, but I understand if that was the intention of the author to do that, but I might just be reading into it more than what I should be doing. But like I said before, it was in quite a conversational style, so because of that, it was quite hard to get through. It was quite like disjointed at times, and so it felt like you had to kind of like get back into it, and you come out and you get back into it, and it wasn't flowing like a good book would flow. So I gave it 2 stars out of 5 for that reason, but I appreciate the idea behind it. I just think it could have been executed perhaps a little bit better.